What is up, everybody? We are back here at King Film Sports for the NFL Week 2 betting picks and game predictions here. First, we're going to get into a recap of a crazy Week 1 and then going to get into my picks for Week 2. But before we get into that, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. A lot of you guys are watching these videos for the first time and have not subscribed, so I'd encourage you to please support the channel. Comment your predictions down below and join the Betting Picks Discord. Link in the description there. On game days, Saturdays, and Sundays for college football and NFL, we will give all of our picks, some that aren't included in the video, some totals, and some player props, things like that. So check that out. Now we get into the Week 1 recap, and we had the Eagles minus 6.5. I recorded the video very early on, a few days before Week 1 started. Obviously, that Micah Parsons trade was not factored into the line, so we had the Eagles minus 6.5. Didn't play anything at post when it was about 7.5 or 8 on the spread. Actually, the Eagles were very underwhelming in this game, do not end up covering. Obviously, of the big incident before the game really even started with Jalen Carter getting ejected for spitting on Dak Prescott. And then the big lightning delay in the second half. So not sure if this was the Eagles playing bad, potentially regressing from last year, or the Cowboys maybe a little bit better than we thought here, but not a very inspiring win, but it is a victory for Philadelphia. Then the Sao Paulo game in Brazil, Chargers, Chiefs here. The Chargers, we had them plus 3.5. They end up winning this one outright. Kind of an odd game. Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs gets injured early. They're without Rashee Rice, and the offense just was not clicking the entire day. Justin Herbert played very well, and the Chargers get a big win there in the division. Then to the Sunday action, Falcons-Bucks. We had the Falcons plus 2.5 here. This was just a weird game in that early window, and I thought that the Bucks got really lucky. Baker actually had 4 turnover-worthy plays, and he just did not have to pay for those at all. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in terms of the analytics last week. They did get away, Tampa Bay did, with some fourth down conversions, and the Falcons were able to get the score, take the lead late, but then they obviously gave up the touchdown to the Bucks, and then Koo misses the field goal at the end of the game. So just an odd game, but the Falcons do not end up covering there, although this game did end up being a pick-em as of the start of the game. Then Jags-Panthers. This one actually closed Jags minus 4.5. So remember to lock in our plays early on. And they just rolled this Panthers team, was not even close there until the Carolina Panthers got a garbage time score after another big lightning delay in that one. But yeah, I mean, this Jaguars offense was rolling early on under Liam Cohen, and the Panthers looked like they did in the early parts of last season. Bryce Young was not good there. Then a couple of these other betting locks, Giants plus 6.5. I mean, this one was just disgusting. The Commanders, I'm really lower on them. I'm not high on this Giants team, and their offense is just despicable. Russell Wilson could do nothing for them there. The running game couldn't get going. Thought that their defense played fine. They only gave up 21 points. But yeah, I think Russell Wilson, if he keeps playing like this, he's got to be benched immediately in favor of Jameis Winston or Jackson Dart there, because that was just abysmal to watch. Then we had our teaser here, Broncos minus 1.5. That one was actually kind of a struggle. It was just a really ugly game. Bo Nix did not play well at all, but you're going against a rookie in Cam Ward and this Titans team that's bereft of a lot of talent there, so they do end up winning by 8. Then the other leg of the teaser, we'll get into later. We had the Ravens. They cover the plus 7.5 to cash the teaser. Then we get to this NFC North matchup. Packers easily wiped this Lions team, and I am really high on this Packers team. You know, our 2 Super Bowl tickets, Packers and the Niners there. Niners, although they get the win, looking very turbulent so far, as well with some of the injuries, but the Packers look really good. They are one of the Super Bowl favorites now. I think they're a co-favorite in the NFC, maybe slightly behind the Eagles right now, but they do look really good. That offense was clicking. Jordan Love back to his ways from a couple seasons back with that playoff run, and Josh Jacobs looking really good on the ground. And they did give up a lot of yards to this Lions team, but really held it down in the red zone in some key situations, held the Lions without a touchdown until garbage time late. So big win for the Packers there in the division. Then we got to this Ravens-Bills game, gave out this teaser, but I also gave out the Ravens minus 1 before the game started. Really felt good about that one because I just knew with the injury situation to the Bills, the Ravens would be able to move the ball at will, and they were able to. And then we had one of the worst beats of the season. This Baltimore team was up 15 points with just under 4 minutes to play. Fourth down for the Bills. They convert. They score the touchdown. And then Derrick Henry ends up with a crucial fumble there. Bills score the touchdown, but we're still in good position. And then the Ravens get bizarrely conservative. I know that they've been having success on the ground the entire night, but you'd think maybe you get a little more creative there and then definitely go for that 4th and short. They don't. The Bills move the ball easily and then get the game-winning field goal there. Definitely concerning how they gave up the lead, and this Baltimore team, especially in the playoffs, always seems to choke these games. Their defense played well for a lot of the night, or at least decent, and then it just completely crumbled late. Still have a lot of concerns about that Bills defense, but yeah, those two offenses are some of the best in the league, and that has big ramifications on the AFC number 1 seed. Bills have the easier schedule there, and now a game up with the tiebreaker in hand against this Baltimore team. Going to be tough for the Ravens to come back there. Then the Monday night game, this one was incredibly frustrating for us Bears backers here. I am low on the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy, and boy, did he look terrible for the first 3 quarters of this game. And then I think they got 3 straight touchdown drives in that fourth quarter. We're really clicking there. I think a lot of that as well was the Bears defense kind of wearing down there. Not a great effort for them in the fourth quarter. A lot of those plays were just wide open and yards after catch for Minnesota, but do have to give some credit to J.J. McCarthy there. And then Caleb Williams looked really good on that opening drive. They got a pick 6, they got a field goal, and then really did absolutely nothing. Caleb Williams missed a lot throughout this game until that last garbage time touchdown there, so Bears end up losing by 3. That was a very tough one there. Thought that the Bears should have easily won that game for 3 quarters and then just collapsed in the fourth. So now with that being said, let's get into the plays for NFL week number 2. And as we did last week, we've got a half unit lock. Don't feel great about this one at the number. We're taking the Packers -3 against the Commanders. I thought we'd be able to get 2.5 below a field goal at some number for this Packers team, but it was actually 3.5 or 4. Now it's come back down to 3. Would be a full unit play at 2.5, but really comes down to the fact that I think Green Bay is the far superior team to the Commanders. I think the Commanders will regress from last season. You saw last week their offense wasn't stellar against New York, even in a home game there. I know that the Giants' front 7 is great, but the Packers' defense we saw last week against a comparable team in Detroit, I think that the Commanders and the Lions are around the same skill level, and the Packers just completely shut them down there. Yes, Jaden Daniels is more dynamic. Maybe he'll be able to put together some plays, but I just think this Packers defense will be able to stop them somewhat there, hold them to 24 or below. And then this Packers offense, I think it will continue to click on a short week here. I think that they'll be able to run the ball down this Commanders team's throats. I think that the offensive line will play very well. Josh Jacobs have a big game, and then Jordan Love, I just trust him a lot in this spot. Matt LaFleur as well. And then a couple other trends point to the Packers as well. These home teams on short week, especially when they had a home game the week prior, are very good against the spread in these situations here. And I just love the way that the Green Bay Packers are playing. I think they're the best team in the NFC, so give me them to win that one there. Then we get to the Sunday slate. And we have a lofty spread here between 2 0-1 teams. Browns probably should have beaten the Bengals there, but just some very tough circumstances with the Joe Flacco late interception and some kicker issues. And then the Ravens with the heinous choke, as I mentioned, to Buffalo. I think that the Ravens are squarely the better team here. I think that they will win this one in a rout. They're 11-point favorites, so no play on the spread there, but I expect their defense to look better against a bad Browns offense, and Lamar and the boys to put up at least 30 points in a blowout there. Then we get to an interesting one between the Jaguars and the Bengals here. You guys know I'm very high on the Jaguars relative to market coming into this season. Maybe the market's starting to adapt. I do like this Jaguars team to potentially win the division. But going to Cincinnati here, the Bengals, they do bank that win, and I think that they'll play a lot better this week, so I'm staying away from this one. I do think that they will win this game here, but the offensive line was very concerning, and I guess the defense was fine, although they played a Browns horrible offense with Joe Flacco. I think that they'll have their work cut out for them against this Jags offense with Trevor Lawrence there, but I do think Cincinnati gets the win at home. Low confidence there. Then we get to the Giants and the Cowboys. Not going to do anything here. Spread is around 6 points. I just can't back this Giants team with Russell Wilson in the offense looking like it did last week. This Cowboys defense is not great. This would be a good spot for Micah Parsons to potentially be in the lineup for this team and harass the starting quarterback of the other team, get that pass rush involved, but they don't really have that. So Cowboys, yes, their offense looked decent through 3 quarters last week, but I just cannot back them from a spread perspective in this game. I think that they're the better team, though, just because that Giants offense is so bad. So give us Dallas out right there. Then we can finally get into our first betting lock of the Sunday slate. Give us the Bears plus the 6 points here. Yes, I was a bit underwhelmed with Caleb Williams in this Ben Johnson offense, but think another week down, he'll continue to improve. I also think that Brian Flores defense is a tough unit to go against there in Minnesota. Caleb Williams had his struggles last year against that unit. Going against this Lions defense, now without Aaron Glenn, didn't look great in week 1. I think this is a good bounce back opportunity, and I'm fully bought into the Ben Johnson narrative here. Yes, he did not have a great connection with his quarterback, Caleb Williams, but he knows this personnel of this Lions team in and out. He'll know how to attack them, and I think that he'll put up a great game plan here, even on a short week. And then the Lions, yes, they might bounce back on the offensive end as well against that Bears defense. Think that we might see a bit of a shootout in the Dome, but I do love the value here at the Bears +6. I just think that this spread is too inflated for a Lions team that I think will regress big time here. I think that they are more of a league average team here, so I do think that there's a lot of value with Chicago there. Then we get to a very ugly matchup in South Beach between two teams that disappointed in week number 1. I'm actually going with Miami to win this game, and I do not think that Drake May and this Patriots team played well at all in that home game against the Raiders there. Drake May, 46 pass attempts, and he just was really inefficient in that matchup. I think that people were overrating him over the offseason, acting as if he'd already taken a big leap within his rookie season when really it was just a few garbage time scores that people were reacting to in the stat sheet. I think that there's a lot of holes in that roster. Now, Miami looked terrible in their own right as well. Tua, just one of the worst performances you'll ever see. And Mike McDaniel might get fired a few weeks into the season, but I do just think that Miami will be able to bounce back here at home, get some of those offensive weapons like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, Achane, among others, involved. And I do think that the heat will be a bit of a concern here. I think that it's going to be 80, 85 degrees, very humid, Patriots sideline. With that sun, I think that that's going to be a big thing there as well. Really just who's going to bounce back better. And I do think that that's the Dolphins in this matchup. I think they're slightly more talented, but not too much confidence there. Then we get to another game that there's a lot of uncertainty. Niners were a 7.5 point favorite after week 1, even though it was a very tumultuous win against Seattle with a lot of turnovers. Now a lot of injury concerns. They do cut their kicker, Jake Moody, who had a couple of really bad missed kicks. But now Purdy, with a couple injuries that he's nursing, we will see what he's up to here. Can he play? Because with that offensive line, I mean, that's already a concern. You have George Kittle going to the IR, Jawan Jennings potentially injured and out for this game as well. So Ricky Pearsall going to have a big game, and they're going to have to be able to run the ball with Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson. And against the Saints front, I do not think that that's necessarily a guarantee here. If Purdy doesn't play, you're definitely looking at a Saints spot. Do not trust Mac Jones to make plays behind that offensive line here in week 2. But generally, the Niners defense did look good last week against Seattle. That's really just what kept them in the game there. They do force the late fumble to Sam Darnold to get a pretty lucky win there. Saints, I thought they looked all right. I mean, Spencer Rattler is never going to do anything too crazy. I do think that he could get himself into some mistakes here against the San Francisco defense, so we will see there. Next, we get to the Bills and the Jets. I'm actually going to take the Jets plus the 7 points here. I'm not high on the Jets coming into the season, but was pleasantly surprised at what I saw from their offense last week with Justin Fields moving the ball against the Steelers. Maybe Pittsburgh's defense has regressed, but I do think that that was somewhat impressive here. And really going off what I said before the Bills-Ravens game and what I saw in that game, this Bills defense is absolutely terrible. They are very injured right now. The secondary can get got, so definitely expect some points here from this Jets team in week 2 at home. I do think that their defense will get torched by Josh Allen and company here, but I just think that the full touchdown is too many points, and so I think that the Jets will put up a fight and get it within one possession there. Next, we get to the Seahawks and the Steelers. Not sure what to make of either of these teams' week 1 games. Seahawks, how did they not win that game against the Niners? Maybe their defense isn't as good as we thought, and also Sam Darnold maybe having some struggles. And then the Steelers, I mean, is Aaron Rodgers really the real deal? Or is their defense really bad? I mean, who really knows at this point? So going to sit this one out from a spread perspective. Get us the Steelers to win outright, though, at home. Then we get to the final game of the early window, Rams against the Titans here, and we're actually going to back the Titans at +6. I just think this is a great number. I actually think that Cam Ward played decent in week 1 against supposedly the best defense in the league and the Denver Broncos. Really some baffling coaching decisions and a couple unfortunate breaks in that game, or else I think they could have won outright or really challenged that Broncos team. I think that defense, which is really the strength of the team and played decent last year, gave Bo Nix fits. He played terribly in that game. And I don't think that Stafford necessarily played too well against the Texans. Yes, he didn't have any mistakes, and he had a couple key conversions on some third downs, but they only put up 14 points there. So I think this Titans team could do some similar things in this matchup to stifle this Rams offense. And then Cam Ward, hopefully he's able to avoid some big time mistakes, but I do generally think that this Broncos defense is better than this Rams defense that he'll face this week. Also, much easier environment playing at home than it was last week in the Mile High City. So I do think that the Titans keep this one close, potentially win outright in an upset there against the Rams. Then we get to the Panthers and the Cardinals. Not really sure what to make of this game here. Panthers, as I mentioned, looked terrible in Jacksonville. And then this Cardinals team, I mean, yes, they did cover against the Saints there, but they could have easily lost that game outright to the Saints. They were losing early and then a big drop late for the Saints, or else that game could have been in question. Here, I think that Kyler Murray will be able to torch this Panthers defense, and I'm just not sold on Bryce Young yet. Just do not think that the Panthers roster is very talented, so give us the Cardinals to win that one at home. Then the Broncos and the Colts. This spread has actually gone down to about 1.5 points. I do think that the Broncos are the more talented team here, and I thought that Daniel Jones on the other side played very well in week 1, but I do not know if that's going to translate against this very talented Broncos defense here. And I think that Bo Nix, he played as bad as he could in week 1, and I think he'll play better here. Sean Payton will have him ready to go in week 2, so even though they're on the road, give us Denver to win that one there. Then we get to the highly touted Super Bowl rematch between the Eagles and the Chiefs here. And I know that both of these teams disappointed in week 1, but I can't really understand this line. How are the Chiefs plus 1 point here coming off of the loss? Yes, I know that they got trounced in that Super Bowl and didn't look great in week 1 coming off of that Brazil game. So a bit of a tough travel spot, although they have a couple extra days to prepare. But the Eagles did not look good in that game really at all. After the lightning delay, they weren't really able to score there. We know that the Chiefs' front seven is pretty stout there. I think they'll be able to challenge this Eagles running attack. And I think that will Jalen Carter miss this game? That is a bit of a concern there. Their defense didn't look great against the Cowboys. I think that the Chiefs will be much better prepared here, even if Xavier Worthy doesn't play. I think that you'll see a big bounce back from Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid on that offense. We just know that this Chiefs team, coming off of big losses, they tend to bounce back here. I mean, hell, they didn't really lose many games last season, went 15-1 through 16. We know that they usually win these close games in the fourth quarter. So I love this Chiefs team, especially as the underdog plus 1. And they'll have a full week to prepare, knowing that they have to bounce back and get revenge for that Super Bowl loss against this Philadelphia team. At home, I expect a raucous environment in Arrowhead Stadium, so I love that Chiefs spot this week. Then we get to Sunday Night Football, Falcons, Vikings, and I feel great about this pick. I think that this line is super inflated right now. I think that this line should be around 2.5 or 3 points maybe, but instead you're getting a full 5, and maybe this line even goes up, so maybe hold out some hope that it could get to 5.5 or 6. I think that the Falcons are actually as good of a team as Minnesota, if not better. Yes, they're going into a tough environment here, but J.J. McCarthy, I'm still not fully sold, and I think that this Falcons defense has made some market improvements since last season. As I said, they could have turned over Baker Mayfield and that Bucs offense a couple more times last week, so I think that they could bait J.J. McCarthy into some interceptions there, and I think that the front seven's playing a lot better. Penix on the other side for this Falcons offense, he was up and down, and I think that he might struggle a little bit against Brian Flores, but a lot of those skill players and Bijan Robinson in the backfield, I think that they will be able to move the ball there. Hopefully Penix just is able to avoid some mistakes here against Minnesota defense, and if they're able to do that, I do think that they have a strong case to win outright, and I just do not understand why this spread is 5 points. I think that Minnesota is still being overrated from last year. I think that they will regress a lot here this year, so love the Falcons plus 5 points there, and I think that they will win outright in US Bank Stadium. Then we get to the Monday night doubleheader here, and we're going to buy low, sell high in this game. As I said, I think the Buccaneers got very lucky in that game, and I think that the Texans got pretty unlucky in week 1. CJ Stroud, yes, their O-line is pretty bad, and he was getting harassed for a lot of the day against Los Angeles, but if it weren't for that late fumble, I actually think that they go down and score a touchdown there and win that game. And I think that this Bucs team, pretty injured. Their defense didn't look great in week 1, so I do think that this Texans offense will look a lot better than it did. And then how about that Texans defense? It was supposed to be one of the best units in the league this year, and it definitely lived up to the billing in week 1, and they didn't even get a turnover here. I do think that they'll be able to bait these Bucs offense into a couple mistakes there, maybe return one to the house. This is their home opener, so I do think that the Texans are the better team here, and I think they'll bounce back from week 1. Give us them minus the 2.5 points. And then we get to the second matchup, Chargers and Raiders. Yes, the Chargers did look very impressive there, getting that upset win against the Chiefs, but going against this Raiders team who went cross-country and got a big win against the Patriots, I'm going to take the Raiders plus the 3.5 points here. I think this spread is just too inflated. I think it should be around 3 or potentially even 2.5. I think that the Raiders can definitely hold their own within this matchup with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. Yes, they have some struggles within that offensive line, but Do think that they'll be able to move the ball somewhat against this Chargers secondary. And then that defense actually was a pleasant surprise. Maybe it's all Drake May and this Patriots offense being anemic, but I do think they can carry over some things, make this game a bit of a grudge match there. So I definitely think it comes down to a field goal late between these two rivals here. Not to mention that Las Vegas is at home in this matchup, so I do think that the Raiders keep this one close and cover the 3.5-point spread there. So with all that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below of my predictions here. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.